start recording, and I'll go a little slower so that those that come in can join in and hopefully not miss much. But welcome. Good evening, everybody. My name is Beth Rosen, and this is an introduction to involvement on how to get involved in volunteer efforts in your community. I have been involved with volunteerism on I can't even name all of the organizations that I've been a part of, but I know you've heard some of them throughout this symposium. I know earlier Dr. Patterson was mentioning Habitat for Humanity. I've worked with them. I've worked with a lot of volunteer organizations and national and worldwide organizations as a volunteer, and it's just a passion of mine, something that I love doing. And I think the first question is this: where to begin? People generally don't know how to get started, and you know, where there's so much need everywhere. So we're just going to kind of jump right into it and talk about how you can be involved and volunteering. So you already have, you're attending the food symposium. So this is a start. You're getting to learn about the needs, hopefully being aware of the food deserts, if those have been in earlier presentations or in the coming days with the symposium, but being aware of local food insecurity needs and food deserts in our area. That is a start. And then making the connection, like what's important to you. How do you personalize your passion? For me, I kind of just do, my jobs have always kind of been things that I loved. My hobbies, I'd look for a job in that field. I love music, and I love reading, and of course, helping people out. And so I would look for things like the Women's Prison Book Project. I'm volunteer with them, where we send books to women that are in prison to encourage them to continue reading and sharing with their fellow inmates, and really trying to be a positive influence and a support, sending a little note in with the books that we send. You know, reading's a huge thing for me. So that's super important, that for me, to share that knowledge. How do you personalize your passion? You know, it does sometimes, as we all know, it does take something happening to you in order for you to realize the impact. And so for me, food insecurity and all the issues that go around hunger, we were poor when I was younger, and we did have to rely on government assistance for a couple of years. I remember being in school, elementary school, and getting free lunches and free breakfast. And so you know, I think that when you've been in a situation and you can kind of relate to it, that stays with you. And that for me is a push, because you know, as a child, you're impressionable, and things that are said, or when people say things they don't know about, but it does, it can drive you to get involved in something that you've personally experienced to make it better for someone in the future. And so that's kind of what I do. I look at how it's personally affected me, or things that that are important to me, and then I look for volunteer efforts in those areas. And so I do a lot of things with the food bank, food drives, any kind of related to that is just super important to me. The Feed the Pack, all the things that you all have been learning about in the symposium, those needs are high. And then, you know, be mindful. I wrote in here, be mindful when you eat. We should all be mindful about everything, but specifically when you eat. That's been a change for me as well, is to take a few minutes and thank those who made it possible for you to have your food. You know, we all take for granted that we got it at the farmer's market or the grocery store, or someone served it to us, but there's a lot of work that goes behind preparing, getting our food, and then, you know, preparing it for us. And so be mindful and thank the people that have made it possible for you to have it, because there are a lot that don't. So you've already taken the first steps. These are just some ideas about finding out more information, so how you can be involved, but this is a good first step. So volunteering at a glance. Volunteering is, as I said earlier, it's a passion of mine. I've been doing it for years. I feel like it makes me happy to help other people. Volunteers are a way for organizations to use their resources more directly when they're not having to pay employees. But there's a lot of things that volunteering, there's a lot of benefits to volunteering, but just in general, volunteering, you're just giving your time or your skills to help other people. And no, you're not looking for any kind of reward financially for that. It allows you to connect with your community and make it a better place. That's what is super important here. We have needs in Raleigh and in North Carolina, in our nation and around the world. And your individual impact, it actually does make an impact. And I'm here to tell you that. So we'll talk a little bit more about your personal impact a little later, turning it into legislation. But truly, I'm telling you that one person can make a difference. Collectively, we come together and we can make a huge difference. But also volunteering exposes you to new experiences and new opportunities. At things that you maybe would have never seen if you didn't go outside your bubble. And it also gives you skills that maybe you didn't know you had, or it enhances the skills that you had to help others. And then also as students, it helps you become competent, employable to businesses and to better meet your learning objectives. Volunteering is something that I think should be required. I think everybody should need to do that, to find kind of the things that make them happy, what is connecting them. And so I have this quote, I love this quote, let us be revolutionaries of love and use our human powers, our very strong human powers, to save lives and encourage unity around the world. And when you do volunteer efforts, you are changing the world. The benefits of volunteering are that you get to connect with others. This pandemic has been really hard. I'll tell you, my volunteering has come to it's all digital now. It's all virtual and digital, unfortunately, because of the pandemic, with the exception of the food bank, which I'm so grateful that I can actually go in person and help, to help them out. I go about once every 2 weeks for a shift, and the need is high. So I've got information about how to connect with them, but the need is very high for the food bank. And so, but it's my chance to connect with others. I love it. I get to go and be with other volunteers who are there for the same reason. And it's so funny. Most of the time I meet a lot of NC State employees or students that are going there as a group, or that have just been coming because they love it, or that they actually needed to use the food bank at some point in their life and they're wanting to give back. It allows you to connect with others, and you can make new friends, new contacts, expand your network, and boost your social skills. Wearing the mask isn't ideal, but there's a lot of smiling going on with volunteerism. So it's kind of contagious. It's good for your mind and your soul and your body. It really does help counteract the effects of stress and anxiety. Everything that I have experienced over this past year, mentally, it's been really tough. And I can tell you that the one thing that always gets me in a better mood is being of service to others. And so volunteering, it really does kind of give you that boost, and makes you happy and increases, your self-confidence. It can also advance your career. Like, it'll teach you skills and experience that you maybe wouldn't have had otherwise. But it's also a good way of doing that without making a long-term commitment. You can try something out as a volunteer and see if it's really what you want to do. If you thought building houses is great, work with Habitat for Humanity and build a couple houses, and being outside isn't for me, kind of thing. You can just figure out what you can kind of narrow down, I guess is what I wanted to say. But it really can help advance your career. And it brings fun and fulfillment to your life. You get a renewed sense of creativity and purpose, and you're motivated, and it can carry over into your personal and professional life. So as I said earlier, my interest and passions I always wind up finding a volunteer organization or event that I can be involved in. I have dogs. I love reading. I love music. I can't tell you how I've been involved in every single one of those hobbies as at a volunteer effort. It's a lot of fun, and it can get you out there and feeling like a little bit of networking. So those are just some of the benefits of volunteering. And I'm open to anybody. If you want to unmute yourself while we are having our presentation, please feel free to jump in or ask questions, or share your experiences if you do volunteer and you've had any of these, if it makes you happy, and or you've gotten some good career skills out of it. Please feel free. I'm presenting, but this is an interactive moment, so please feel free. And this is a quote that's on the wall at the food bank of Central and Eastern North Carolina, and I love this quote. One of the deep secrets of life is that all that is really worth the doing is what we do for others. And that's in the lobby of the volunteer entrance. And it's just really meaningful, because when you start doing it, it's hard to not want to keep volunteering. I will tell you that my volunteerism started, as I said earlier, talking about food insecurity as when I was younger, but my parents didn't take me to do volunteer. We didn't volunteer as a family or anything like that. It was actually when I was at college that I heard about. So, I mean, this is a prime example for you as students. When I went to college, I learned that I could be a tutor for English as a second language for refugees that were coming at the time from Russia. And so I got to do that. Started a chapter on our campus for PETA, just different things like that. But college was where it started for me, where I realized that I could volunteer and get involved in activism and make an impact, because I had so many people around me that felt the same way. So you just feel better when you're able to do things for others. And I definitely do. And so I think I love this quote just because it really is kind of a secret once you start doing it, that you really can't stop. So finding those passions, finding the things that you love or that you enjoy doing, you can absolutely garden. If you love gardening, there are community gardens everywhere, maybe even your faith-based initiatives. They're trying to start a garden. There's all sorts of volunteer opportunities for you, depending on your interest. There are tons. And the need is great. We're talking just specifically about food and food insecurities here, but these numbers are kind of staggering for me. It's actually a little higher, but I'm taking it directly from the food bank website. But when we're in the food bank and working the food bank, I can tell you that these numbers are higher. 756,000. It's closer to 800,000 people every day in North Carolina, in a third of our state. 34 counties rely on food from the food bank. Let that sit there for a while, because that's pretty alarming. Yes, Pam, I see you hand up.
Yeah. Hey, Beth. So I have a question on that, because that's a lot of food. I know there's some other programs that have been, I don't know if they were around before the pandemic, but like Farmers to Families programs where they're doing boxes out in these rural areas.
Yep.
Is this helping, and is it just the pandemic, or is that something that's always been going on?
No. So thank you for that. Unfortunately, if you look at the third, my little third tagline here, North Carolina has the 10th highest rate of food insecurity in the nation. And that has been for a while. This is definitely pre-pandemic. and it continues to struggle with getting out of the top 10, which is really disturbing. 1,400,000 people struggle with hunger in North Carolina alone, and almost 500,000 of them are children. And so that's on a daily basis. What I can tell you is that the food bank that here in Raleigh that I volunteer with, they only service those 34 counties. But in those 34 counties, they work with hundreds of partner agencies, is what we call them. And so food that gets donated from Food Lion and Harris Teeter and individual donations and large corporations are put into this warehouse, and then boxes are made, just like you were talking about, Pamela. There are boxes that are made for seniors that are, they don't have enough money for food. It's disturbing when you work there to see kind of the need is very high. Pandemic made it worse, but this is something that's been going on for a while, and the need, it just continues to increase. One of the things I love about volunteering is that I do get to be around people, but unfortunately, I guess I was too good in what I was doing. They put me in the emergency section around the holidays at the food bank, which meant I wasn't around other volunteers. I was just dealing with people on my own. And it was hard. It was really difficult to watch people come in that have nothing. It just kind of shifted everything for me. I changed a little bit with my enthusiasm for going to the food bank, because I know they needed my help over there, but it also was, I was connecting with the people that were actually benefiting from what we were doing versus being in the warehouse where everyone's having fun and putting boxes together and all of that. It's a different face to it. And I needed to do that because it's not a fun situation. So but I saw the need, and I saw the donations too. There were some really amazing organizations and people that were donating food every day, but it's not enough. And that's what's sad. So these partner agencies that the food bank works with, everything from the Interfaith Food Shuttle, which I know was an earlier presentation, the Salvation Army, multiple churches all around Eastern North Carolina. They come every day, and they bring a U-Haul or a van or someone's pickup truck, I promise you, and they load up, and they can order, fresh vegetables and produce. So some of the farms around here will donate their produce to the food bank, and then we separate it out and put it in bags for individual families. So it's a nice give and take, but the need is high. And a lot of times, we're giving people just not the best food. I mean, unfortunately, macaroni and cheese and peanut butter, some of those staples that we all know are high need, they're just not nutrition. I mean, so that's an issue, as well as making sure that we're getting good, healthy food to people. When there's a food scarcity and we're giving them ramen noodles and, Capri Sun, it's not healthy food. It's, it's giving them something, but it's a cycle, right? And it creates sickness, and we all know, I don't have to get into that. But the need is great. And these numbers are lower than what I have up here. I think it was closer to 800,000 around December when I was working at the food bank. But this number is staggering. I mean, there's 7 million people in North Carolina, and almost 1.5 million of them are struggling with hunger every single day. So that's a push for me as to why the food bank and why the soup kitchen. I actually volunteer at the Shepherd's Table Soup Kitchen. All of those things that are connecting people with nourishment are super important to me to make sure that it continues. And so the need's great. I've listed a few local opportunities here, talking about the Shepherd's Table, that there's a couple here that are within the bus route. I know for students, sometimes it may be hard to get around. Shepherd's Table is right downtown, maybe less than 2 miles from campus. the place at the table, the second one. So the first link I have is the Shepherd's Table, and that's a wonderful food bank. They only serve, I'm sorry, a soup kitchen. They only serve lunch during the week, and it's a very busy. I think they have, well, 300 and something people that come through in an hour that get their food, and the food bank does give food to them. They get donations from restaurants and other places as well, and they turn it into meals. So if they get, 50 pounds of collards, then that morning they're making collards and ham hocks or whatever. They're very inventive and kind of quick to make sure that they're using whatever's donated to them. And there's something about serving people with a smile that makes a big difference there. So the Shepherd's Table is a great place to volunteer. A place at the table, those of you that are here, I don't know if you're aware, but that was actually started by alumni from NC State. She started this and has been recognized in, I think there was a TED Talk that she did. That's really close to campus actually, and that is pay what you can, a little cafe that you can come in, and if you don't have money, you can still get something to eat. If you have money, you can pay for another person's meal, pay it forward. And I really like that organization. I love that it's close by and that people can benefit from it, and go Wolfpack. And then of course the Food Bank of Central and Eastern North Carolina. The link is there as well for you to get involved, to volunteer. You can choose volunteer shifts. Pandemic, there are some restrictions right now, but I see families going on the weekends or in the evening when they have some evening shifts, and it's a good way to connect to your community. And there's a lot of fun. It's, they'll put the radio on and everybody gets into a groove and you just wind up connecting with people, and it's great. And so, yeah, those are some local opportunities regarding food insecurity. And this is just, very fitting. The fight against poverty isn't about charity, but it's about justice and equality. And those of us that have more, can help those that don't, so we can all have an equal chance. Where else can you help? So I talked a little bit, about my volunteer efforts, and specifically related to food insecurity and in our area, but even food drives. There are food drives happening all the time. I know a lot of churches will have a food drive and collect non-perishable food, or create your own. I can't tell you how many people came around the holidays and had brought like 20 turkeys in their trunk of their car and said, oh, I just did a food drive in my community, or my HOA allowed me to do this. And it got people involved. So, it doesn't have to be a huge thing. There is a wonderful food drive that happens, except for COVID, that happens every year at the Islamic Center of Raleigh. And it was started because that was a passion of the students who it was created for. An unfortunate situation that happened has turned into a yearly wonderful and very successful food drive that benefits the food bank. And so look around, there's food drives that are happening all the time. Every time I go to the grocery store, I always pick up extra. My niece and nephew were laughing. They're like, what'd you do with those 10 jars of peanut butter? And I was like, honey, I gave them away. So I just, if you see something on sale that is a need, absolutely pick it up. But I do that. I'll try to buy like 15 boxes of mac and cheese, or if there's something, the soup, Progresso soup, buy one, get one free. I try to always save space in my pantry for that, and then make a weekly or monthly trip, to drop off food at the food bank. There's another organization here locally. It's actually a worldwide organization called Food Not Bombs. And every Saturday in Moore Square in Raleigh, they actually give vegan and vegetarian and vegan food and other necessities to our homeless population and anyone that needs it. So you can find them on Facebook. I didn't have a link specifically for their website because it is a worldwide organization. Of course, closer to home, Feed the Pack Food Pantry. We have a large number of our staff that actually depend on this and our students as well. And the need is great there. So I believe that there was another presentation specifically talking about Feed the Pack, but the information is here for you to see. They did change some things. I have seen where people have ordered on Amazon and had it shipped. So, you know, if you're looking for contactless donations, you can do that. There's an organization I'm part of called North Carolina Raise Up, and they are trying to increase wages for our essential workers, specifically in fast food and you know, those types of jobs that tend to pay minimum wage. You can be a part of that organization, and even as students, they do protest. They stand outside McDonald's. We've done marches and things like that to ask for fair wages and healthcare and benefits and union organizing. So that's also a great local organization. There are many, and outside, you know, I'm giving you a list here, but I am more than happy to talk more about other organizations, other opportunities, you know, if you have questions about that. But I've worked with all of these, and they all, you know, they all are only successful because of their volunteers. And so that's, you know, get involved. This is another quote at the food bank: "We can't do without you. Volunteer hours more than double the staff." And that's really important, because the more money that has to be spent on staff, the less there is to go towards the end goal. And that's a huge thing. And we all, I know, sometimes don't feel like we have a lot of time, but we do have a few extra hours that we could give, and it would make a huge difference to some of these organizations. So I'm ready. Turn in this, you know, actions speak louder than words. How do we get involved? What are we going to do to, you know, we can volunteer, but how can we turn this really into action? So I kind of want to talk a little bit about an organization that I'm involved in, many, but I am a congressional district leader for one campaign. You can look it up on one.org. And actually, they put into action by contacting their legislature, Congress people, representatives, setting up meetings with them, and actually asking for what they want. And it's actually really cool to see that happen. We had a big summit this year in February, and we were asking for the COVID relief bill to pass, and money for trying to eradicate extreme poverty. That's the goal for one, is eradicating extreme poverty around the world by 2030. And so we started with our local representatives and literally scheduled a day of advocacy and set up meetings with the senators and the representatives' offices in North Carolina. And we all had Zoom meetings, and we talked about why. We personalized it. Why is it important for them to support this bill, and how it is going to affect our community, and just having a real discussion with someone that's in a position of power, and telling them, you know, as your constituent, this is what I want. A lot of times we complain about when elected officials don't do what they said, or, you know, we don't know how to get involved. But honestly, when you learn and you get trained on how to have conversations with your members of Congress, then you can ask what you want for. You're not always going to get it, but the more pressure and the more people that are contacting them, it actually does make a huge difference. And last night at our monthly phone call, I'm happy to say that what we had asked for, we got. We had actually asked for, I think, $11 billion. Yeah, $11.5 billion in aid to foreign countries who are suffering so much more than we are through the COVID pandemic, that don't have access to any of the vaccines and things like that. And so talking with my local elected officials, that got passed in Congress and, you know, became a bill. So it is possible, and it does happen. So it's really great when that happens because it keeps you active, keeps you going. So for students, like I said earlier, I got involved in volunteering when I was a student in college. And I think as college students, you do have a unique opportunity to mobilize your campus community. It's a little bit smaller community, and you can influence your elected leaders here on campus. If it's, you know, Chancellor Woodson, I'm telling you, students have a big voice on this campus, and it may not seem like it, but being on Staff Senate, I can tell you that Student Senate gets things done. Staff Senate, we're kind of constantly having to go through red tape and stuff, but they do listen to students. You're the reason that we're all here. And so that voice and that power that you have is more than you know. So I would encourage students to get involved more with student government and with trying to make changes. That's the only way we're going to do it. Sustainability, you know, become one of the sustainability stewards. Get involved in that. The more students we have involved, the better it is for you and for the community as a whole. And so for me, turning that activism, you know, you can start a chapter on campus and get trained, learn how to use social media as a platform to reach out to your elected officials and make a call to action. I am constantly calling my elected representatives and leaving voicemails. I am always signing petitions. I'm always sending emails. It's kind of what I do in the evenings and on weekends when there's an issue happening, a pipeline or something that I you know, think something's going to be harmful to our environment or harmful to communities of color, things like that. I'm constantly reaching out, and social media is a great way to reach out. And, you know, your action doesn't have to stop at the ballot box. You know, when you vote for somebody, you need to hold your elected officials accountable. And that's something that hasn't happened in a long time. You know, we're held accountable. You're held accountable as students to get your work done, to get a good grade. Your teachers are held accountable to make sure they're teaching you on the correct subjects. But, you know, our elected officials need to be held accountable as well, because we're the ones that elected them. And even if we didn't elect them, they're still representing us. And so you have a voice. You do have a voice. And then, you know, as I said earlier, you can get trained on how to have conversations. Not everybody is great with public speaking, and some people are better at letter writing than they are you know, face-to-face conversations, especially if you're not sure of the content or you are worried about messing up the numbers. We all do it. You know, like I said, I had to look at my notes to remember. I knew it was 11 billion, but so, you know, it's a learning. You're always learning when it comes to volunteering and turning your activism into action, but it actually does work. So action into legislation at a local level, at a national level, and a worldwide level. When you are reaching out to your local officials, your local leaders, like I said, Chancellor Woodson, your professors, mentors here on campus, you can start making an impact, especially if there's more than a handful of you. And, you know, you actually have a platform on the national level. Same thing, you know, it's just broadening your scope. So being involved in food insecurity issues on a local level. I'm also part of the Poor People's Campaign for several years. That's all local for me. That's my community, and that is my state. And those are areas that need help. And so if I'm able to help, I'm going to help. But those actually have turned into national and worldwide conversations. The Poor People's Campaign started in North Carolina, very proud of Reverend Barber and all the work that's gone into it, but it's now in, I think, 44 states have their own Poor People's Campaign initiative in those states. It started here. It started with a lot of work and a lot of activism and, you know, sit-ins at the Capitol building in Raleigh and arrests, but it's gotten traction. And now the Poor People's Campaign is a major talker, if you will, on platforms, major news networks, and really turning action into legislation. So I like that it started locally, and it continues locally, but it's actually gone into national. When we talked a little bit about the, ranking 10th in the United States, it's kind of embarrassing for North Carolina. I think we have a lot of wealth and a lot of opportunities in our state, and to be ranked 10th in food insecurity is hard. It's hard to see that and know that there's a disconnect somewhere. We're missing some opportunities. And so, if we start at our local level and move it to a national conversation, maybe we need a little more focus, or learning where the food deserts are, reaching out to grocery stores and asking for them to open up chains in areas that they normally wouldn't or hadn't in the past. And then worldwide, again, these issues are human issues. It's, we need food to live, and that is what sustains us. Everyone needs that. And so it is a worldwide issue. A lot of our food is not local. Your strawberries that you're eating in December did not come from North Carolina, most likely, or your own greenhouse. And so it does become an issue when there's shortages, or the pandemic. I mean, people are saying, oh, there's a shortages of avocados, and no, it's just we're not able to, you don't have the people and the help to do that. And so it does become a worldwide issue. So local, national, and worldwide. When you start making your volunteerism part of your life, and you can turn that action into legislation that can make a big impact, that's what I'm here for. That's kind of where my volunteerism has led me, is to go larger than my local, and go national, and now worldwide with one.org. And so it's in your hands to create a better world for all who are in it, who live in it. This is one of my favorite quotes by Nelson Mandela, and it's true. I think oftentimes we feel like one person can't make a difference. And I know I've told you that earlier, but you absolutely can. And when you collectively come together, you can really make a huge difference. And my goal is to empower each one of you to, think about your passions and things that are important to you. If you have to connect it, like I did, to knowing what it's like to be poor and have to rely on government assistance as a younger child. We are all one life experience away from being in that food line. That truly is what drives me at the food bank right now. Pre-pandemic, but really hit home this past year. A lot of friends lost jobs. All of you, I know people that lost jobs, lost family. Life has been tough, and you're not immune from it. And it is just one car accident or one job loss away from you being in that line. And so for me, that is a driver, is, even when I'm exhausted, and the food bank, sometimes it's physically demanding work, depending on what you're doing. But I'm like, oh man, I'm going to need to take an Epsom salt bath and my back's going to hurt for 2 days. But it doesn't matter for me, because the greater impact is that I'm hopefully seeing less people come to the food bank to need food, because they are getting nourishment, or they have elevated themselves and been able to have a chance, a better opportunity. So it is in your hands to create a better world. And I believe that you can do it. All of us can do it. Just find that passion, find the things that are important to you, things that you enjoy doing. Start there. This pandemic, I started making dog toys. I have dogs. I've owned dogs for decades. My friend and I were like, oh, what are we supposed to do? And there's a group that actually has prisoners train dogs as guide dogs. And so when they're being sent to the prison, they can't send them with certain things so they can send them with felt toys. I made over 100 of them during the pandemic last year. I just got excited. I was like, okay, I can't really volunteer in person right now. So what can I do? So find something that's fun. You know, my friends were laughing because they all knew they were going to get dog toys for Christmas because I perfected it. But you know, you're volunteering. It can be in that way. Look for something that's important to you. This happens to be important to me, and this symposium talking about our food issues and food insecurities and the problems that we're facing was just a great time for me to talk about the ways that you can get involved. But there are so many other ways, and I do hope that that you are feeling empowered, and that, you know, we go back to this. Let me just go back to this one because I love this. The benefits, I think that we forget those. People say, oh, I'm volunteering, I'm just working for free, or they don't really understand how you can really benefit from volunteering. And especially when, you know, things have been rough and your mental health has taken a toll. For me, it just does help to know that I'm helping someone else. It does make me smile. Even, you know, if I'm in the emergency food section and watching really bad situations, I at least know that I helped somebody, or I gave them the list of resources. That's the one thing at the food bank. When you go, it's a distribution center, but we do have an emergency section there for people who, you know, don't have anything. And we give them a list of locations within a few miles of their home, different faith organizations, you know, soup kitchens, etc., where they can actually get other things and healthier meals and toiletries and things like that. So it makes me happy to be able to share that with somebody. Here's some resources, and you know, it just comes back, but it really is good for your soul and your mind, just helping. And it can do these other things. It has advanced my career in different ways. A lot of my volunteer efforts have been in leadership roles, and that's helped me in a variety of ways, in and outside of my professional career or how I make my money. But it has been an eye-opener for me to see the things that that I'm making a difference in, and ones that I'm like, I really didn't do anything. For me, Habitat for Humanity, I've done a lot with them. We've built a couple of houses, but man, that just isn't my thing. I love that someone's getting a house, but I'm more of like, I'll paint or I'll do something inside. I'm just not an outdoor, you know, getting my hands dirty kind of person. And so for me, I absolutely will do it. It just, I would probably look for something that is more in line with me if there were two opportunities. So that's what I'm saying for you. Look and find what's going to connect you with others, and maybe advance your career or give you different skills. You're like, hey, I'm kind of tired. I've been at this job for a long time and I just want to do something different. There are lots of opportunities out there. There are volunteers needed in almost every organization or facet of our world. So you are more than welcome to reach out to me. I'm happy to connect you with other resources. I'm happy to talk about any other places that, if you have ideas or you volunteered, please feel free to bring those up, because I would love to hear about it. You know, the more that we share with each other, the stronger we can be, and really turning things in, you know, action into legislation. We can really make change happen. So I know I think I talked a little quickly, and I hope I didn't skip over anything or miss an opportunity with anybody's hand up. But I really would like to take this moment to do a question and answer. And thank you for your time and your evening spending it with me. It's really important that we share this information with each other. And I would love, if students are interested, you know, I am the congressional district leader for one.org, and I would love if anyone's interested in starting a chapter, a student chapter on campus, that I could point them in the right direction and get them set up with training opportunities and things like that. But I'm more than happy to be a resource. I did put my NCSU email and my phone number here, and I will share my PowerPoint, but please feel free to contact me anytime. I love talking about volunteering. I love being involved in it, and helping people find their passion is something that I like to do as well. So please feel free to ask any questions or raise your hand if you'd like to. I'm here to answer anything.
Yeah, I had a quick question. I might have missed it when you're talking about it. I love Place at the Table. I didn't even know they're actually taking volunteers, and I'm looking to keep myself busy after graduating this semester. Could you repeat what kinds of, like, did you say anything about what kinds of volunteering they do there?
So I almost want to say that right now they may not be accepting volunteers at a Place at the Table. The last time I looked, they had to limit their number of volunteers, and I think at this point it was takeaway lunches. But outside of the pandemic, yes, you can volunteer there for serving, for cooking. It's great, and it's very close to campus. And I just love that it was started by, a strong female wolfpacker that started this, and this great idea. It's in a handful of cities around the United States, different names, but that same kind of pay what you can. And I think it's super important here that we have something like that, because unfortunately our poverty continues to increase in Raleigh, with all the people moving and all the corporations and stuff, and the cost of living going up without the wages going up. But I'd check out their page and see. I know weekly they update it to what they're doing, or if there's special events. But I do think that the last time I looked, they were not having in-person volunteers. It may be that you can volunteer to put the lunches together and all that, but not to the capacity that it was when it first opened, and the need. Maybe with everyone getting vaccinated, we can somehow get back to a little bit of normalcy, but I would absolutely encourage you to check that out, especially because it's close to campus. Give you some time, use up some of that free time you were talking about.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely have to keep an eye out on their website. I always forget that it was an NC State alumni that created it, so it's always so inspiring to see. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for this presentation.
It's so inspiring. And I saw her, she spoke at, we have a sisterhood dinner that is on campus every year around February. And she was a speaker a couple years ago. And I was so impressed. I mean, had just graduated and already had this business plan, and had the space and everything. And side note, I was doing outdoor yoga last year, and I met this woman who said, yeah, a friend of mine has this really great idea, and I'm going to be her new manager. And it turned out to be that. And I was like, oh my gosh, wait,
Wow.
really? So it's just interesting how, just talking about things, or engaging with people about volunteer efforts. Hers turned from a volunteer effort into being the cafe manager. I'm sure that was her experience, but just, you never know what it can turn into in terms of possible job opportunity too. Or, hey, I got my degree in sociology, but man, I really love, this food insecurity. Maybe I should change my major. Who knows? It really can spark some interest and hopefully joy.
Yeah, that sounds inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions for me, or thoughts or feedback about getting involved, volunteering, activism?
I do, but if you wait just a second.
Yeah.
Trying to get out so that you guys can actually hear me. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. It's crazy. I was just gonna say that for those people who weren't able to make it to our last session, where we talked about the SNAP benefits with Sarah Ride, she gave us a lot of ideas for like volunteer and like engagement opportunities that we can do on campus to get like the knowledge out about like the SNAP program. and about helping with student food insecurity in that way. So I guess I would just say for those people on this call, like, to stay tuned, because I think there's like a lot of exciting stuff that I now want to do as a steward, that you guys could also be getting involved in. So we like watching for that. But thank you so much, Beth. This has been amazing.
No, I thank you for telling me that. I am excited to hear some of the presentations when I can mute my work and be able to participate. But that's what it is, right? Like, at the heart of everything, it is educating, and you don't realize what opportunities are out there unless you can stumble upon them or look and see, oh, I like books. What is out there? But it really is word of mouth, and it makes a big difference when it's your community and your friends and coworkers. I have multiple times. You of course have to ask your supervisor, and it depends on your workload, but I have multiple times had a group that I've taken with me to the soup kitchen. We volunteer as a group of 6 or 8 or 10. Same at the food bank. You can ask them, hey, I'd like to come here with my group from the sustainability office, or DASA wants to have a group of 10 people, and you can go and volunteer for a 3-hour shift or a couple of shifts and do it as a team, if it's going to bring more people too. So, I love that you're hearing volunteer opportunities, because that is where that's what's going to help organizations, go longer and get stronger, is when they have volunteers. So I'm happy to hear that. And I hope once the symposium's over, you'll have a nice collection of volunteer opportunities that you'll be able to have listed, and websites and whatnot that people can kind of link into, kind of like what Martina was asking. Just, it'd be helpful to go on the websites and see ones that have restrictions right now, and others that are open and doing things safely, so that you can get involved and then go, jump around to different areas and see what you really like. So I really appreciate everyone's time, and thank you for the opportunity to talk about my passions and loving, being part of a volunteer effort. And again, feel free to reach out to me anytime, ideas or suggestions, or you just how to get involved. I'm more than happy to assist.
Thank you. I definitely want to put together a page also for our website that's just like a comprehensive list of all of these things. So I will definitely be going through your presentation and kind of making that, and I'll share it with you in case you want to share it with other people. But
that'd be great.
Yeah, I think it would be great to have some of the sustainability stewards involved in some of these organizations. And we already do socials, so that's a great idea. I know a few are here, so.
Oh, I'm just reading the chat. Yeah, so that's good information. Yeah, and I've heard the food is good there as well. But thank you as well. I really do appreciate everybody's time, and please enjoy your night, and reach out if you need anything. And I look forward to seeing you again at in person at one of these events, hopefully.
Thank you, Beth.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
Thank
Beth.
you, everybody.
Hey, Gracelyn, you have time for a quick question? She's in the car.
Yeah, go for it.
There she is. Okay. How many sustainability, what are you, an ambassador?
Sustainability stewards. Yeah.
Steward. Okay. How many sustainability, that's a tongue twister. Sustainability stewards are there on NC State's campus?
I know if Haley and Martina are still in this call, they might have the more exact number, but I think we're around 30, Miranda. Is that right? 30 something?
I
think we're 35 this semester, but typically 30 students.
Excellent. Okay, excellent.
We're
Good to know. I actually didn't know y'all existed.
Yeah.
I probably should have, but I don't. Now I do, but.
Well, that's what these are for, right? Is like, there's so much on this campus that we're not aware of. We have no idea how many resources and things that are available, because I think everyone's in their own little pocket. I'm in CALS, and so I deal with CALS, and it's very rare that I go outside for other units unless I'm doing something with the sustainability office. So this is, just getting the word out there and sharing the knowledge. I'm happy. I think, Pamela, you're a staff member, right?
Yeah, and I'm over in the nutrition department,
Yeah.
and Dr. Cook and Dr. Goodell may know, I mean, of you guys, but I
Yeah.
have a pretty decent depth of network at NC State, but I had no clue you guys existed. Now I
Yeah.
will be able to spread the word some.
Yeah, no, that's what happens is you wind up connecting with someone and then you're like, oh, wait a minute, I didn't know this existed. And then, oh, I'm going to sign up for the, you know, so you wind up, it's good. These are really great. These Zoom, as Zoom fatigued as everybody is, it's nice to get some of this information out there and share and be able to have students interacting with staff because we both can learn from each other. So thanks for the
Absolutely.
opportunity, Miranda and Graceland. I really appreciate it. And thank you everybody for participation and attending.